Cherie Hanson here. I invite you to subscribe and like my YouTubes that I put up on my YouTube channel. They're always kind of a snapshot of where I am right now and what I'm learning or what I'm failing to learn. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the landscape recently. Looking back over the last 3 years is kind of fascinating because, first of all, I was in my 70s. I'm 79 now, and I was in that cohort that was being really impacted by COVID. I had pneumonia 4 times in my life, so I was really concerned about catching COVID and having respiratory problems. One of the other things that happened was my hip quit. The joint, the socket failed, and I was told if I got COVID, I would be taken off of the surgery list. So I became like those strange people in English villages, live in the stone houses. Have you seen Mabel? No, she's always in her house. Sometimes you can see the curtain move and she's looking out, but she doesn't leave. And I lived like that for an extended period of time. Then came the hip replacement and that chaos. The hospital was full. They didn't have staff. They gave me a new hip and then kicked me out of the hospital with a prescription for painkillers, but no painkillers. And then I went home and needed to deal with getting the new hip in place, getting the muscles working, making myself fit again. And that was a slow process. And then the next thing that hit was my granddaughter got very sick. And she was in the hospital, kidney failure. She had heart problems. She had a high fever. They couldn't bring it down for days on end. So she was very close. It was a situation where we all sat there feeling so helpless. But she managed, with her team of 5 doctors, to come through, and she's gloriously active again. And after we got through that, I'm thinking every time you go through this stuff, you go like, okay, now we're done. Okay, now it's going to be a picnic with sandwiches and pickles, homemade pickles, and in a field of wildflowers. And every single time you come back to, oh my God, I'm standing looking at the hill across the lake burning down, fire coming over the ridge, burning down, fires all around us, poison air all around us. But what I have learned to do, which really helps me a lot, is I've learned to bring some perspective to it. And I used to teach ESL. And in my class, there was a woman who talked to me about how her village was impacted when the Nazi troops were headed for them. They all rushed to the barn, and in the barn they slaughtered their animals because they didn't want to be without food, and they knew that the Nazi troops would take their livestock and use it for their own food. So they slaughtered their animals and they hid the meat. And this grown woman, talks about how her favorite doll was cut open and a big slab of beef roast was put in it. But she knew and was told that if she was stopped by a soldier, she would be killed on her way home. And she said something interesting. She said, a lot of people have difficulty in Canada because they have had so much calm, so much predictability. They're in a place where they don't have these turbulent, terrifying, chaotic things showing up. And I think the first time we've really experienced that is with the wildfires that are coming through. So I think about that white Angora cat on a pillow, satin pillow in the fancy feast, and how I have been so lucky in my life to be in a place where most things work out. And when I look at Ancestry.com, I found almost 20,000 direct ancestors. I'll look at an ancestor, put them on my tree, and then read their life story. And I look at that and go, oh my God. Because these people expected disasters. They expected chaos. They expected war. They expected their castle to be stormed. They expected their crops to be blighted. They expected starvation to come in. And it gave them a totally different perspective on the world than what I have. Because things are so much calmer now, except for the wildfires. And we're not having to go through those survival scenarios constantly. So what I've learned to do in my own mind is, how do I deal with this sense of victimization and this spike of fear and negative energy and all the rest of it. And one of the ways I deal with it is to look at what my forebears have gone through and just say to myself, you know what? It's just another swing on the roundabout. You just cannot live a life that is totally predictable all the time. You cannot be in a place where you are safe all the time. And so for me, that helps me come to a point of view where instead of headed down into despair, I head down the alley of gratitude that I haven't known all of the turmoil that my ancestors have gone through that is in their society. It isn't breaking over my head. So this is something for us to think about. Yes, things are happening. And what do we do when there is no predictable pattern? What do we do when, you have a la-di-da, beautiful sunny day without poison in the air, and then a week later you can't breathe because it's toxic chemicals? We have to find a way of coping with those swings, and everyone will find their own way. I like to just remind myself that I'm pretty damn lucky. It helps. And, damn, I had my kite in the air. Yeah, well, wind changes, baby. You may have your kite in the air, but it's going to crash to the ground. You just have to expect that. That's life. So that's what I've been thinking about today. I do invite you to like or subscribe to this YouTube channel. I also want to mention that my blog at CherieHanson.com has 75,000+ subscribers now, and invite you to come on and subscribe to that blog. I'm also going to be running 3 workshops that I have been working on and building up the information for the last 18 years. I've been studying to present these workshops. The first one is DNA imprinting family trauma, the Akashic records, what happened to you and why you are the way you are. And the next one is going to be about the present, and it's gives you assessing skills for how you're doing in the present time. And the last one is going to be looking at the future and creating a future, the tools that you can use to create. It won't be perfect. It's not going to be champagne and caviar out of a wicker basket in a meadow, but at least you can get to a place where you're more satisfied with what you are manifesting in your life. So get a hold of me if you're interested in that. I am going to be posting about it. And I thank you very much for following my videos and my blog. Remember, we're doing a heck of a lot better than the people in the 1400s. And I'll tell you how I know it. My grandfather was born in Nice, N-I-S, in what is now considered Yugoslavia. And he lived in that village without moving and ended up living in 6 different countries. Why? Because it was constantly overtaken, overthrown. Armies were coming in. You know, when I compare my life to his, I'm going like, yeah, it's pretty damn good. Anyway, thank you for listening.